Welcome to another episode of Younger by the Minute. I'm Jamie Spicer, and I'm here with my lovely wife, Jennifer Spicer. How you doing today?
Good, how are you?
I'm doing good.
We just got done working. It was a nice week. It's Saturday. We're recording this on a Saturday. It's 2/22.
And what are we celebrating?
We're coming up on 10 years of being open in business.
It's crazy, isn't it?
I can't believe it. I can't believe it's been basically a decade.
It just, some days it feels like it's been forever, and some days it just feels like we just opened. That's for sure. But it's been one hell of a ride, and I wouldn't change anything.
No, and that's the thing. They say that owning a business is a spiritual game, and I would have to say so because it's definitely, it forces you to develop in ways that you never thought possible. And then I think add the element of us being married and business partners. We're going on 11 years of marriage in November, 10 years of owning a business together, and we've evolved. And I will say that right now at 11 years of marriage and 10 years of owning a business, I feel like we're finally hitting our stride. It's taken a lot of trial and error, really figuring out and learning how to pivot. And I think that's forever evolving, but the development of self that's happened in the dissolution of ego that's had to happen has been great.
Exactly. I think mentally, physically, and financially, we're in the best place we've ever been at personally and professionally. So
Yes.
it's been a lot of work, but it is paying off tenfold.
Yeah. So we wanted to shoot this podcast a little bit differently. A lot of times our podcast is geared towards ways that can help you look and feel your best because that's what our concept is and that's what we truly believe in. That's our mission. And our mission at Precision is to help empower and elevate individuals to become the healthiest, happiest versions of themselves through holistic approaches along with modern medicine, like a nice blend of the two. We have medical weight loss, fitness, aesthetics, and it didn't always start this way. It's evolved. Nutrition. It's evolved. And I feel like we need to take a second to celebrate because that's something that doesn't always happen and it's very important. So we wanted to really focus on celebrating, but then go through, we have 10 questions to review over the last 10 years of owning a business with a bonus that is relationship centered. So an interview style to go over the last decade.
Now I would add, we always try to bring something to the table that brings value, like you opened up with. I think one of the things we can talk about this by adding value is the fact of slowing down to appreciate your wins. Yeah. Like you said, I know for us, me especially, once we accomplish something, I'm immediately on to the next thing. What can we do better? What can we build? And not really sitting in and reflecting in the moment as much as I should. And I think people do that through their weight loss journey or anything that they got going on is they're not celebrating their wins or taking time to reflect back on their journey from where they started to where they're at and appreciating that journey.
Yeah, especially if you're a high achiever. And if you are thinking about owning a business or own a business or you're dedicated to your fitness and nutrition and really value about how your health is, guaranteed you are a high achiever. We all have kind of the same temperament. And it is really important to take a moment and reflect and have gratitude and just be grateful. Like we were listening to one of our friends who was on a podcast and he and his family have a very successful business, and something that resonated with me. People often say self-made, and I don't want to take away from that. There are people that have built themselves up from nothing. But one thing he said that really did stick was no one is really self-made. We all are in a community and people are connected. We all understand each other, whether we realize it or not. We have the same feelings, same emotions. We do the same things. And just by being nice to someone and I will say over the last 10 years, that person in particularly was somebody that helped us get what we have. And there's been numerous people that have been gracious enough to just offer help, whether it was advice or time or whatever, and I feel completely indebted to them.
Yeah, and the point of what he was saying is, yes, you are self-made in the fact of, yes, if you built your company on your own, but we all have to realize, anybody, no matter what business you've created or done, you've had help along the way in some way. Mm-hmm. I know I'm always journaling that and grateful for the opportunities, people, and resources that have been through our entire journey of our business that have stepped in when we thought things were just going to absolutely fail. Ironically, somebody or an opportunity or a resource presented itself to help us get through that.
Yeah. And that's how I think the universe tells you you're on your way, because the reality is we're in a circle, right? And it's okay. You go through one phase of your journey of life and you'll sure as shit think, oh, I've been through this, and you're going to come back up on it. The trick is to make sure that it's a spiral staircase, and each time you're elevating, you're not just chasing your tail. And I think that's what it is. The universe will give you signs when you really feel like your back up is up against the wall and you don't know how you can see your way out of it. If you take a step and a moment for gratitude and breathe and learn how to embrace those struggles and realize what resources you do have and allow things to come versus always resisting them, right, you will get there.
100%. So let's start out with the first question, and that is talking about the journey of starting and growing our business over the past 10 years.
I think that needed to be asked to you, because the precision was precision fitness before it was anything else. Right. And so that was beyond 10 years ago.
It was. I think a lot of people don't realize that I think it was about 3 years actually before Precision Fitness and Spa was created. It was just Precision Fitness. Yeah. And at that point in time, I was renting space, training clients out of that facility, doing nutrition, and working with quite a few competition clients, bodybuilding clients. I think I built that book of business up to be about 80 people, not just in St. Louis, but across into Omaha and a few other states. It all started there. And then, obviously me and you met, we talked, we hit it off. As we said in the past, we were basically finishing each other's sentences, because in your aesthetic world and with my nutrition and training world, skin and gut health play a role. They go hand in hand with each other. So we decided, hey, why don't we take what we both love doing and combine it, which is when Precision Fitness and Spa was created in October. We opened October of 2014, signed the lease was in June of 2014.
Yeah, and we had always talked about the concept, but we actually weren't what we thought even anywhere close to opening up our own business. And we had people present opportunities to us that was just like, all right, let's figure it out. And I will say, for two people that do not have any business background, we've definitely backfilled and figured it out along the way. And we keep saying we've been graciously blessed with people in our corner that have definitely helped us. And when I feel like it was just, even though we didn't know it was the right time, we had to chase it. And as far as growth over the last 10 years, I think it's just really paying attention to what feels right in our guts. Jamie and I have always been a little bit more forward thinking, especially for the area of the country that we're in. And no offense to what I'm about to say, but usually things happen on the coast first. And I am from the East Coast. I'm not sure if that's part of it, or it's just because Jamie and I truly are passionate about the things that we do. He's passionate about fitness and nutrition. I'm passionate about aesthetics, and that's evolved as our own lives have evolved. When you come up on your own health issues, or you watch family members come up on their own health issues, or you have clients that have health issues, and it's truly something you're passionate about, you throw yourself completely in it. It doesn't feel like work. It just feels, okay, how can I figure out how to put this puzzle piece together? And in a way, I feel like growing a business is just like figuring out how to help heal somebody, because a business is its own breathing, living entity. Once it becomes something that's named, it's like a baby that needs to be taken care of. And so I think that's recognizing that, and that every single person that we employ and every person that we touch, we have an obligation to. And that's been a lot of the growth.
100%. And like you were saying, it's like we started out before it was Precision Fitness and became Precision Fitness and Spa. Then you graduated with your nursing. Then we brought on the injectable side. Then you got your NP, and then that brought on the precision medicine side. From where we were at 10 years ago when we opened up, it was just basically me and you and two other employees at that point in time. And we were doing nutrition, competition prep, personal training, and aesthetics with one laser. And now we move forward and we employ 16 people. We have precision fitness, we have precision nutrition, we have precision aesthetics, we have precision injectables. And yes, I know they are underneath the same in the spa, but they are both their own income generating pieces of the company and both very profitable for us. And then we have precision medicine, which is what we've slowly grown over the last year and a half.
Yeah, and I would say that it's funny, we didn't really realize what was going on in the workings that God was planning, because precision medicine, I don't know if it would have been that third major leg of the company if I hadn't gone through my own health stuff after in 2020 with the down regulation of ovulation and all that stuff. And I started to really realize the whole concept of us and how it got started was realizing that what you eat and the supplements you take affect your skin. But then I started realizing whatever disease process you might have going on or whatever else might be happening to you. For example, if a woman has an underactive thyroid and she comes in and she has puffiness under her eyes, this allows me to not only treat the symptom with aesthetics, but also the cause with the medicine. And little did we know that precision medicine actually would become an actual healthcare term.
Right.
And so it's so funny when you look back. And I think that's the biggest thing on why you have to look back, not only to celebrate, but to realize, okay, God was working in my favor here.
Yeah. And that you've already dove into what's the second question. And that is how the focus of our business has shifted from fitness, nutrition, and aesthetics to now also include precision medicine. And I agree with you and what was going on with you was a big catalyst to getting to the medicine side. But I think looking back, when I look at the stages from where I started, first it was just personal training. Then that got into why are some of my clients seeing really good results and some are not.
Yeah, I was one of those clients.
Yeah. That led me into the nutrition, which also led me into competition prep, right? And then through competition prep, I was like, why are some people that I know that are giving it their all are struggling? Which then led me down the road of really taking a look at how to look at A1C, insulin, trying to optimize hormones, especially the thyroid. And the biggest piece I was missing there was being able to get the right blood work and filling in those gaps. And so I know that with what you had going on and what we had experienced with clients on the nutrition side, you getting your MP just naturally led us down the road of being able to fill that gap, especially when we have seen so many people being, I'm not going to say mistreated, but not being treated as in depth as they should have been. And they were always being treated for the symptom, not the cause, where we're really honed in on getting to the cause, the root problem, which then obviously will fix the symptoms.
And what's funny is you think about the evolution of that plus the evolution of our medical director. So med spas need to have a collaborating physician, and then depending on whatever state you're in, you can either have an MP can have full autonomy or not. So here we still need a collaborative, even though I can prescribe. And what's really funny is we had our primary care physician. She's been on before. Her name is Dr. Rebecca Rodriguez, and she was our primary care physician since before we even got married. And you don't always see the primary care physician, and it was like divine intervention. I had to go in to get a refill for a prescription, and she and I just started talking, and it was like the alignment, like how when me and you met, we had ran in the same circle, but the alignment had to be right. The timing had to be right. And with her and her help, it's now even evolved even more. And then if you think about like from mold toxicity and things that we didn't even think about, never mind hormones and all that, it's forever evolving. And it's just, there's so much to learn. But now I look and I think about the team that we have and how much they believe in what we have in their own personal struggles. I know that this company isn't done evolving, at least from from all of it. And you talk about this, like things have changed over the last decade. People are becoming more autoimmune than they were 10 years ago. We're seeing a lot of things that are very prevalent. And so I really think that our purpose on this planet and the purpose of precision is to really help people when they have tried the normal traditional routes and they can't figure out what's going on.
Right. Which I think we just answered number 3, what inspired us to incorporate precision medicine into our business model. Just kind of hit that head on with that. So the number 4 is, how has your leadership style evolved over the years as your business has grown?
Lately, I felt, I don't want to cut you off, I felt in a way a parent, and no disrespect because we don't have children. I can't imagine the responsibility that entails. But I will say, I don't feel like I was not on purpose. I feel like I'm finally hitting my stride as a leader, and that has truly been because of trying to lead myself better.
Yeah, it's like we said, the employees that have been with us for 7 years are kind of like our firstborns. Like, we did the best we could in what we were doing, and now we have learned, and we're doing much better with the kids after. But the firstborns they definitely felt our growing pains. And going into that, It's so many people, I think, want to start a company, but then they tell themselves the story of, I don't know this and I don't know that. And like you had said, we had no marketing, we had degrees, we had no business degrees, no accounting, any of that. Our education was in our fields of what we do. Mm-hmm. But we were willing to take the risk. We were willing to put everything that we had into it, and it has paid off. But from a leadership style, I think the biggest thing that, for at least I know for me, was I stopped leading out of fear. Yeah. When I learned to stop letting fear cripple me, and which then caused me to make irrational decisions or behave irrationally, when I use fear as a tool to motivate me to do better, is when things, and I know for me as a leader, really changed, because I could show up for the team much better, and I can show up for you much better, and I could show up for myself much better, and stay much calmer in situations that before would put fear in me, and then I would be irrational.
Yeah, and I think it's very big of you to say and recognize, but fear is normal, and fear is a thing, like, especially when we're both born out of, and it's not our parents' fault, it's just the way the cards were, scarcity mindset. People are born in different situations, and we only know what we know, and that creates emotional behaviors and patterns. We are complex creatures, and I do think that you don't know something until you've been through it, and then sometimes, like they say, hindsight is 20/20.
Right.
I do know that both of us are truly the definition of servant leaders. But I think it's like you said, it's figuring out, was it self-serving or serving them and the team that we have, and how can we communicate better and all of that stuff. And I think the last year we've gotten better with clarity, like being more clear, being more organized. I know for me, trying to wear so many hats all the time of a service provider and a leader and someone that has to do admin.
Knowing how to change those hats.
Yeah, it's really hard.
Stepping in from provider to leadership. You got to know how to change those hats and do that very quickly.
And for me, I lead better from a feminine energy. I work better from a masculine energy.
Right.
And so being able to discern, okay, is my tone matching the outcome that I want? Am I leading by positive reinforcement? I feel like we were talking about this the other day. We have had experiences with leaders that we didn't like. And so we always wanted to not be that. And I feel like sometimes that did a disservice of not wanting to micromanage. And what we realized is we had to become micromanaged ourselves. And so now there's a difference. We can have systems and management styles in place, but still allow each person to be their own person and to have their own expression of leadership, because at the end of the day, they're all leaders of themselves as well.
There's two things. You said, one, patterns. I think the one thing, what have we done over the last year, completely different at the beginning? We did Tony Robbins business coaching. We did Grant Cardone business coaching. I've gone to Bedra Koulian. So we've done that. The biggest thing that is preached is when you pay attention to patterns, leave clues. Yeah. And when you figure out those patterns and you can fix it, now you're responding well ahead of before a problem will happen, versus reacting in the moment on how to fix the situation. So paying attention to patterns is huge. And then the other thing, like you said, is we never wanted to micromanage people, because we hated micromanaging ourselves, being micromanaged when we worked for people. But looking back, I probably could have made a little bit more, could have done a little better had I learned how to micromanage myself better than someone maybe would have felt the need to micromanage me. But I think that's the biggest thing we're trying to teach the team right now is, like you said, is to not only is to micromanage themselves. And like the person we're listening to, our friend that was on that podcast, in order for us to grow and get to the next level, we have to build a leadership level below us. And we got to teach the team how to be their own leaders, to lead themselves, so we can go do what we need to do to grow the business.
Yeah, and you're absolutely right. And the other thing is, I think one of the biggest ways of learning how to have different leadership styles is self-awareness, and realizing, okay, you're going to have patterns where you feel like, okay, I thought I got beyond this. I thought I was communicating clearly. I'm reacting out of fear again. So it's being able to like switch and lead yourself first. And you know what I think we've been really realizing as we've reflected over the last 10 years, you have to evolve. I think Albert Einstein says it, a measure of intelligence isn't about IQ, it's about the ability to change. And what we're realizing is, when it's taken this whole year, and we're still refining it, and we will be forever refining it, because that is the human experience, but it's realizing that what worked for you in the past might not work for you moving forward. And so letting go of things that are no longer serving, but also things that, like, 10 years ago, what we did is not going to work now. It's just not. We have a big company. We have more exposure to liability. We have different things. So it's just being very clear of where it is that you want to go and how it is going to be to get there.
Right. And I also think by teaching the team and helping them and giving them the supportiveness and the tools they need to lead themselves gives them confirmation that we do trust them. And they're bought in. They have a say, which is why I feel like we have such a high retention in employees, is because we treat them well, we pay them, we respect them and their opinion. And we want, and first and foremost, something I learned when doing our numbers in 2022 was when we were sitting down and meeting with each individual employee, figuring out what their goal for themselves was to make for the year. Ironically, lined up exactly what we had, our accounting firm had said what our goal for the year was. Mm-hmm. And so by investing in them and giving them the tools they need to lead themselves and inevitably to earn what they want, Precision continues to grow and thrive no matter what is going on in politics or what's going on in the economy or what season we're in. We continue to thrive and grow.
Yeah, and you said that there's different seasons for different reasons, and you have to be able to recognize the patterns. And when you're truly a good leader, you have to check the ego at the door. And I think that's the biggest thing. Ego is what creates fear. Ego is what tries to create manipulation. And we have a team that's a family, and that's why we keep them so close. And I think that's the biggest thing, being able to take a step back and look at, okay, what can we improve on and what do we need to do, and having those honest conversations. It's like a family. Like sometimes you have some resistance and you have to work through that. But if the ultimate vision is for everybody to elevate together and you keep service at the center of that, then I think that's how it needs to go.
Right. And just along with fear, my favorite season has now become winter. And winter, for people to understand, that's the hard season. That's when you're in the thickest of the thick, because that's when I become very creative, problem solve, find new solutions, find new ways to drive revenue, find new ways to motivate the team, find new ways to motivate myself. That's where I operate the best, because I feel like in summer, when things are like really groovy and good and things are easy, I feel that's when I personally kind of start to slow down, get a little, I wouldn't say lazy, because I've never been lazy, but I get comfortable. And when I get comfortable, that's when I start thinking problems are there that aren't, and I can become overreactive.
Yeah, and I think being aware of that, like knowing to discern that. And I feel like, would you say that you like winter because when you're in winter or in the harder seasons, that's when your own personal self-development really gets to refine?
Absolutely. That, and I'm a fixer and I love to fix things. So going back to it, it's like problem solving. It's like now some days there's too many problems to be solving within the day, the week, of the month. But you know what? We have weathered every storm that has come at us, and I'm very proud of us and the team.
I am as well. Can you share any challenges that you have faced in leading a business in the health industry for a decade? I think the biggest elephant there is COVID. COVID made it very interesting. But I would say, from being a private practice that does things more in a functional setting, there's challenges in being met with resistance by other providers that don't understand. You mentioned something earlier. Sometimes people and you're right, it's not like they're mistreated. The system in healthcare right now needs some improvement. When you're in a traditional setting, there's traditional protocols, there's traditional guidelines, and I'm not here to say that the way that somebody's practicing is wrong, but sometimes you need to look outside of that. And I think that's one of the biggest challenges that we have, because we'll be trying to help a patient and I had someone today, I was going over their labs with them, and she said that one of the doctors in her collaborative team went irate on her for being on a specific medication that she actually does need. And it's just, one, I just think that's poor bedside manner. And two, it's really hard because there is a lot of division and it's polarizing.
And then I think from my standpoint, when we get into the training and nutrition side, to me, there's too many influencers that have too big of an audience and a voice, and people take what they say with way too much of a grain of salt. Like they take it way too seriously.
Yeah.
This plant-based isn't for everybody. It might work for that person, but it isn't for everybody. Keto isn't for everybody. Granted, someone might do really good on keto at that point in time, or really good for them for whatever reasons they got on. But that's the one thing I have learned in the 20 plus years that I've been doing is the human body is always a variable, and you got to know when and how to adjust with it. If you are just stuck in a box thinking everybody's going to fit in that box, you are sadly mistaken. And that's where I think we have to do so much education, because we get so many questions. Well, what do you think of this? What do you think of that? What do you think of this? It's like I've said multiple times. I think they all have their place at certain points, but you got to figure out what's sustainable. I would have to say, and that's one of the biggest challenges that we face on the gym side is the influencer side, and the audit, and that people just take what they say like it's gold.
And I think that's deserves a little bit of, attention, because you have people that are not certified. You have it too easy to become certified. It's the same thing with aesthetics. Because of the broken healthcare system, you have a lot of nurses that are flooding into the aesthetic realm because they think that it's glamorous. And while it's great if you're meant to do it, I can tell you this, not everybody can be taught an artistic eye. And that is a huge thing. It's shadows and highlights. But then not only that, you really have to do your due diligence, because if you have the right credentialing, anybody can pick up a syringe and inject, and they have no business doing it. And so there needs to be refinement in both of our legislatures, from fitness and nutrition to aesthetic medicine, because there is a ton of gray area. And I would say that one of the biggest challenges that we do face is marketing. Marketing is so saturated. We're in visual times. People are visual with short attention spans. And so when we perform visual services, which this is what helped you grow Precision in the first place, like using Facebook, and social media is a great tool, but patients have to remember that things don't happen overnight. There's a lot of mistruths out there, and just because someone's posting good before and afters, you have to remember some of that's AI generated. Some of them aren't really theirs. They're only ever going to post their best work. So it's like we have to stay current on all the education part that we have, because we have to pay for the education that we get. The stuff that we do is not taught in the normal education process. No. So we're not taught like aesthetics. We're not taught hormones the way that they are. Everything is outside of it. So not only are we trying to run the business and lead people, we're also trying to stay educated and then have our follow-ups with patients, but then also deal with marketing.
Yeah. My 23 years of experience of working with people for 23 years, where my education has really come from.
Yeah.
And that's where I have to laugh sometimes, because I look at someone, and I'm not saying they don't know what they know. And I'm not saying they're not good at what they are. I just have a hard time sometimes when I'm like, some 23-year-old influencer is talking about this is the way it is. And I'm like, you haven't been in this business long enough to have an opinion that strong.
And you said something that I always say, and it's something that stuck with me from one of my previous employers, and she was a plastic surgeon, or is a plastic surgeon. That you have protocols and you can have procedures all you want, but this is why I get frustrated with doctors that don't stay current. Medicine is forever evolving, because the patients are forever evolving. The patients are the variable, their physiology. Look at a female. Her physiology is different every single day throughout a 28-day span because of the influx and changes in her hormones. So what you can do on a person one day is going to be different than what you can do on a person another day. Now add all the things that we're exposed to and the prevalence of underlying autoimmune from being exposed to plastics and other, toxins and things like that, stress. People are changing, and therefore things need to change, and you can't put people in a box. And because people tend to want things immediately, they do tend to try to just listen to whoever might look the best.
Which leads us into, how do we stay ahead of the trends and innovations in the health and wellness industry to keep precision relevant? The first way I want to start that is we don't go chasing trends. And I'll say it, hang on, but I want to say this. especially from the training side and the nutrition side. What I mean by that is we always, and no matter what program, especially on the training side, the basics are always still part of it. The fundamentals, the basic fundamentals, the basic squat, a basic pull-up, the basic fundamentals are always the foundation, no matter what is new and innovative and coming out. That doesn't mean we don't incorporate it as we go. We just don't lose that foundation.
You went somewhere different than what I was thinking, and you're 100% correct. And I'm about to say something that sounds really cocky, but it's the truth. Our business has been ahead of the trend since the day it started. And now, like for aesthetics, I keep seeing all these doctors jumping on the anti-aging preventative health. And I'm like, we've been doing this since we started.
Yeah.
And I love it. I don't want to take away from that, but it's like, for whatever reason, whether it's God-given or just our experience,
right,
we have always been like, oh, I think this is going to work, or oh, I think this is going to work. There is a trend that's evolving in aesthetic medicine, and it's bioregenerative. That has been something that we've been doing since we started doing aesthetics injectables in 2016. I've always thought, like, why not inject things that are going to help regenerate tissue, that's going to give a more natural appearance? That's also, I said this in the beginning of the podcast, let's also optimize what's going on internally and make sure that your physiology matches the aesthetic goal that you want. Because I can definitely freeze your forehead and make you feel better, or I can help fix your lower face. But if what's going on in the inside is stress related or poor dentition or whatever, I'm doing you a disservice, and I want you to be the best version of you. And that is a new trend that's evolving. And it does make me laugh because we have been ahead of it. Our model has been ahead. Like, we were doing IVs before IVs really caught on. We've been doing all these things, and I like that. And there's a plus and a minus. We've been able to work through some of those things, but I do also think the way that you